Good day, everyone. This is Mark Vello, and you're listening to Headline News. Trump calls on supporters, no more money for RINOs. According to the Epoch Times, former U.S. President Donald Trump issued a fiery statement Monday night, March the 8th, calling on his supporters to stop giving money to RINOs who oppose the Make America Great Again agenda. He wants people to donate money directly to his campaign website and the Save America Political Action Committee, not the Republican National Committee, RNC. No more money for RINOs, Trump said in a statement. They do nothing but hurt the Republican Party and our great voting base. They will never lead us to greatness. Send your donation to Save America PAC at donaldjtrump.com. We will bring it all back stronger than ever before. Trump has recently asked the RNC to stop using his name and likeness to raise funds. It was a second statement to the RNC. Trump advisors said the president sent similar letters to the National Republican Senatorial Committee and the National Republican Congressional Committee. Rich Barris, director of the Big Data Poll, said the Republican Party had been sorely lacking in fundraising, especially among small donors, until Trump entered the presidential race in 2015. The former president's populist appeal, however, has attracted large numbers of people to make small donations to the Republican Party, and he is now redirecting donations to his own fundraising infrastructure. Media analysis suggests that Trump will use the donations to challenge those Republicans who voted to impeach him, including Alaska U.S. Senator Lisa Murkowski. Jason Meister, a member of Trump's campaign advisory board, told the Epoch Times, "RINOs no longer have a home in the Republican Party. The Trump doctrine of America First is here to stay. The America First agenda has put a stop to the ruthless exploitation of American workers. We openly embrace American exceptionalism and believe America belongs to Americans. We put America first and foremost." Trump made a similar appeal to his supporters on February 28th at the Conservative Political Action Conference, CPAC, in Orlando, Florida. He also said he could defeat the Democrats for a third time. Trump said in Orlando, "There's only one way to contribute to our efforts, to elect America First Republican conservatives, and in turn to make America great again, and that's through Save America, PAC, and donaldj.com. He added, "So go out there and do whatever you can, because we're going to help a lot of great people. We know the right people to help. We need your help to win, and to fight big tech and the radical left and the DC establishment." Last week, Trump criticized an opinion piece in the Wall Street Journal that told people to move on and ignore Trump. In the response, he accused the Wall Street Journal of fighting for RINOs that have so badly hurt the Republican Party. Trump added, "That's where they are, and that's where they will always be." Fortunately, nobody cares much about the Wall Street Journal editorial anymore. They have lost great credibility. Former CIA official exposes U.S. liberal media being bought off by the CCP and their pro-communist and anti-American behavior. Charles Faddis, a former CIA officer, recently wrote an article naming the leftist media in the United States for collaborating with the Chinese Communist Party in its attacks on the United States and exposing their business interests in China. Faddis said all major media outlets in the United States, except the more conservative ones, are mostly influenced by the Chinese Communist Party. What they cover is what the CCP wants them to cover. What they say is what the CCP wants them to say. In his article, Faddis points out that the leftist media have significant business interests with the CCP. They cooperate with the official CCP media by inserting advertising editions in U.S. newspapers to do propaganda for the CCP. They do business with companies such as Huawei, which is effectively controlled by the CCP. They invest in CCP industries. They set up factories in the CCP where major products are manufactured. They have significant bookkeeping and organizational ties with the CCP. They transfer billions of dollars from the US to the CCP to help finance it, and so on. The left media outlets named by Faddis include the New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, MSNBC, NBC, ABC, and Bloomberg. Faddis said at the end of the article, "Perhaps then, when we turn on the television and see the actions of Marxists and revolutionaries being celebrated, we should not be surprised. When we see the president and law enforcement vilified, we should not be shocked. It's just Beijing and the CCP's minions doing their job. It's the United Front." The Media Research Center, a conservative group, recently examined the evening news from January 17th to March 13th, and out of 634 minutes of coronavirus coverage, just 3 minutes and 14 seconds were in any way critical of the Chinese government's actions. In 20% of the stories, reporters cited Chinese statistics. Those statistics, regarded as fraudulent by most objective observers, went unchallenged 97% of the time. In its editorial, "How the Specter of Communism is Ruling Our World," the Epoch Times analyzed the reasons why the media leans so far to the left, pointing out that a very important reason was the massive leftist radical social movement that took place in the United States in the 1960s under the influence of communism. Those radical students later entered the academic community, the upper class, government agencies, the media, the arts scene, and other fields where they established control over public discourse. In addition, the Chinese Communist Party has actively and aggressively infiltrated the US media, using large amounts of cash and the Chinese market as a lure to buy off many media outlets that claim to have a free press. Helen Raleigh, a contributor to the conservative online magazine The Federalists, notes, "You often see representatives from American companies with financial ties to China naturally become defenders of the CCP's policies and spreading the CCP's propaganda." Urging Biden to pressure energy projects. Cruz suspends CIA director's certification. On March the 8th, U.S. Senator Ted Cruz suspended the certification of Biden's nominee for CIA director, William Burns, which he will use as leverage to urge the Biden administration to take a tougher stance on the Nord Stream 2 pipeline project, which makes the European Union too dependent on Russian energy. According to the Washington Times, Cruz said, "I'll release my hold when the Biden administration meets its legal obligation to report and sanction the ships and companies building Russian President Vladimir Putin's pipeline." It is reported that the Nord Stream 2 pipeline project has completed 90% of the pipeline laying work. It is a geopolitical project that President Trump had primarily opposed during his administration, and Trump had increased sanctions against companies involved in the Nord Stream 2 project since the beginning of 2019. While Biden also called Nord Stream 2 a bad deal for Europe and retained the sanctions adopted by the Trump administration that year, no tougher sanctions were introduced because Biden believes improving relations with Germany is a priority for that administration. According to analysts at the Washington Times, Cruz's move underscores the strong opposition of U.S. conservatives to the Nord Stream 2 project. They fear that the pipeline will allow Russia to subconsciously strengthen its influence in Western Europe and undermine NATO and U.S. influence in Western Europe, where countries such as Germany, Italy, and Spain already import Russian gas for more than half of their own energy needs. James Carafano, director of the Douglas and Sarah Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies at the Heritage Foundation, believes these Russian gas pipelines are one of Russia's economic weapons. Carafano said, Putin is always looking for ways to divide NATO interests. Energy infrastructure goes hand in hand with national security. You can't fight without energy. These gas pipelines from Nord Stream 2 will also affect U.S. energy companies. European Commission data show that more than 35% of U.S. LNG was exported to the EU in 2019. Carafano believes that Europe does not need to depend on Russia to find good energy suppliers. It is unclear how long Cruz's suspension of Burns' certification will last. The Senate would need 60 votes of support to overturn Cruz's suspension of certification, which would require the support of all Democratic senators and 10 Republican senators. Burns' nomination currently has the support of 8 Republican senators on the Senate Intelligence Committee. This concludes today's broadcast. Thank you for your time, and stay tuned for the next headline news.